TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I am your host. We are live this blustery January 17th, year of our Lord, 2025. Kenny on the board, how are you doing this afternoon?
We are a little crowded here.
We're crowded. We do have a full studio.
Yes, we do.
We have a very special guest. Do you know why she's special?
All of them are special, but you say it much better
Yeah,
than I
well,
do.
she is the unique expression of
Yes.
an endlessly creative God. But you know what? I'm so excited about the conversation we're going to have today. We're going to be talking about health.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a big important topic here
It
in El
is.
Paso.
It's everywhere,
Oh,
but
yes,
especially
everywhere.
El Paso. And she is one of my wife's favorite people in El Paso.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and she is. Her husband was the second guest we ever had on 915 Talk.
Yes.
Do you remember him?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's hard to forget him. I'm looking right at him.
Yeah, he's a doctor and she's a doctor. It's two doctors. That's a lot of medical knowledge in one family. So before
So they've got very healthy kids.
yes. So Kenny, what is an endocrinologist?
An endocrinologist?
Yeah, I think you said it right. Yeah.
Oh, I hope so, because I have no clue.
You have no clue. Okay. Well, we're going to find out today because our guest is an expert in studying the endocrinology. Now, Kenny on the board, we're going to be talking about medicine here. So
Okay.
we are under legal advice to read a disclaimer. But I get tired of reading the disclaimer, so I left a copy for you. Can you read this for our audience?
Sure.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Kenny on the
Okay,
board.
The
reading
information provided on this broadcast of 915 Talk is for educational and informational purposes only and is not to be construed as medical advice. Always consult a licensed physician before making any health-related decisions, as every situation is unique, and this broadcast is not to be construed as medical advice. Man, you busted out the word of the day calendar for this one.
Construed. Yeah, I mean, that's the best part of reading that. Do not construe this as medical advice. Go to your own doctor. Don't go home and practice home surgery after listening today. That is not advised. That is not what this program is about. Now, our guest today has been focused on saving lives ever since she moved to El Paso, and she has the track record to prove it. Her unique functional medicine approach to understanding and controlling health conditions provides her patients with deeper, more grounded pathway towards health and wellness. And I will say on a personal note, I know that to be true. She's the doctor my family trusts.
Cool.
And I'm going to tell you something crazy. You're not going to believe this, Kenny on the board. She
ahead.
has a long waiting list and she doesn't take insurance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Kenny on the board sounds disappointed, but she has a long, someone I know was in her waiting room very recently, and I think the receptionist was talking about, well, I think I have an opening in August. So it's really, really good that she's here on the radio with us today.
Well,
It is
at least they don't make you wait 5 hours for, 8 o'clock appointment in the morning and you're not seen till 1 in the waiting room.
Maybe they do, but it's worth it.
Till
I don't
August?
know. She says she doesn't do that. Okay. So she provides treatment for type 1 and type 2 diabetes, thyroid conditions, including hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, thyroid nodules, I don't know what that is, thyroid cancer, adrenal gland issues, osteoporosis, pituitary gland issues, hormonal issues, and weight loss. Sounds like, Kenny on the board, you and I need to pay a visit.
Absolutely. That's
But-
a wide range of stuff.
But before we do that, we're going to have a great conversation today. We're going to focus on diabetes, testosterone, and Venezuela.
Okay.
So
That's, Yeah.
So without
Let's
further
do
ado,
this.
let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Dr. Mariana Yates. Dr. Yates, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I've been so excited to have this conversation. There's a lot to talk about, so I want to just dive right in. When our family moved to El Paso, I was blown away by the number of people that I met who were struggling with diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
What is I don't know how to ask the question other than to say, what is up with that? Why is that happening? It seems to be particularly here in El Paso.
Yes, and the reason is especially, well, there's several types of diabetes, right? Different. So especially two types. So then type 2 diabetes is very common in El Paso because it's very common in Hispanics.
Okay.
It's kind of like genetically very strong in Hispanics. And so
okay.
since there are so many of us here,
right.
then there's a lot of diabetes.
Okay, so it's genetic. It's not is so much diet.
Well, it's both. So when everything is there's a big concept of right now that we have that's called epigenetics, which means anything that is around. We have our genes and we have a predisposition this way or that way to get sick in different ways, right?
Okay.
Because of what your parents and your grandparents did or whatever. But with what you do in your daily life, and that's what epigenetics means, around the genes, like everything that you do in your daily life can trigger that one way or the other.
So epigenetics.
Yes. And so that's kind of the calling. Instead of like for us to be just like, that's my genetics, I'm done, I'm doomed. You can definitely modify either how bad or how good your disease is, or even whether you actually get said disease or not, depending on your lifestyle.
Okay, so type 2 diabetes, I don't know much about it at all. So tell me about it, first of all.
It's the sugars.
Right.
Have you ever heard of the sugars?
Yes, I know about the sugars.
Basically, yeah. So basically that means diabetes. The actual word diabetes means that you're peeing sugar. Your pee is sweet. That's what diabetes
means.
So,
sweet urine.
Sweet urine, because what happens...
This is family show, family friendly, but that's as crazy as we've ever gotten. But
what happens is...
But we're just talking about etymology here. Yes, please continue.
It's just the etymology of the word. But whenever your sugar goes in your blood too high, your kidneys start filtering it out, and so your urine is sweeter, which now we don't taste it, but the doctors of old age, they didn't have labs and they had to taste it, and they tasted it was sweet, and they're like, so there you go, you
this
have
is shock content. This is the craziest thing that has ever been said on 915 Talk. This is great. This is what I came to work for today. This is so great, Dr. Yates. But by the way, I'm just going to cut you off here because this is great, and we are also live on Facebook and on YouTube. Go to KELP Radio YouTube page, KELP Radio Facebook. If you have questions, use the comment section. Also, if you have a question, you can call the radio station, 915-779-0016. We won't put you on the air, but Kenny on the board will pass your question along to us. So please continue. Diabetes. We found out where the word comes from.
Okay.
Too much sugar.
Too much sugar. That's too much sugar. So what happens is, in type 2 diabetes, what happens is you are not handling your sugars very well. Okay. Your pancreas is an organ that's behind your stomach, basically. And it knows when you get food. And it's like, food is here. And so it sends a hormone. So hormones in the body are messengers. Okay. So it sends a hormone. It sends a message to the body. Right. That says, food is here. Everybody collect energy, basically. And so all the tissues, what they should do, all the tissues grab that sugar for energy. Right? And so if that message that goes out is a hormone called insulin. Right. Okay. And so if for some reason, so you can imagine, if either you don't have enough insulin. Right. Or there's too much sugar and the tissues say, I'm done. I can't take anymore. Okay. You have to get more insulin saying, come on, take it. And they're like, I'm done. I have too much. Okay. And so then that is called insulin resistance, when the tissues are not responding to the message insulin is saying, take in the blood sugar. So the tissues don't take it in and don't use it, and it just gets all pulled in the blood. So your blood sugar goes high. Right. Okay. And if it's type 1 diabetes is a different type. It's more like an autoimmune disease. Right. Where antibodies are attacking your cells in your pancreas that are making this insulin, and you don't have enough.
I always thought type 1 was genetic.
So the genetic, there's a genetic in the sense of like you can get it. Genetic meaning like you can get it because 7 of your family members have it, so you're likely to have it.
Maybe that's
that
my
happens
guess.
more in type 2. It's
Okay.
more genetically strong.
Oh wow.
Yes.
So type 1's autoimmune.
Type 1 is autoimmune, which any autoimmune disease, you have some genetic predisposition
Right,
to,
right, sure.
And there's some theories that it might be viral, but it's, we don't know exactly what the trigger point with that is. There is a little bit of genetic association in the sense that you can have a little bit higher. If your brother or your parent has type 1 diabetes, you have a little bit of a higher chance to have it, but it's not like type 2. But it's
Right.
like you have type 2 and like all your uncles and all your aunts
Right, right.
mom and dad and grandma had it,
Right. Okay.
Not like that.
Right. So when I turn on the television, which has happened accidentally, normally I listen to KELP Christian radio, but occasionally the television comes on in our house. Just, I don't know. But all the commercials are for like diabetes medicine. That's what it seems like. The entire commercial break is medicine for diabetes. What do you think about this, Dr. Yates?
I actually have very mixed opinions about
Okay.
it. So basically, who should know what medicine to give you? I would think is your doctor, right? But for some reason or the other, it's decided to advertise to people. And
that's interesting. I mean, you're not even talking about the medicine yet. You're talking about the commercials. The fact that the commercial says ask your doctor
ask your doctor about it, and I think that's the push.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to a doctor in a while, so I have a lot to ask him about.
You do.
Based
You're
on
like,
all those
I have
commercials.
a list of like 35 things in the thing that maybe could be good for me.
I don't know what any of these words
And
mean,
so,
but I've been advised to
yes.
ask you about this list.
Exactly. And so I think it's just, it's advertising. So
Right.
I do think in El Paso we could probably get more of that because there is more diabetes here, so that would make sense. Or there's a ton of diabetes everywhere right now, but
Right.
we Hispanics are predisposed to it. So
Right.
and yeah, so I don't. And then, so nowadays, as of late, we have these class of drugs that are called GLP-1 receptor agonists.
Okay.
It's a long word.
Yeah.
You might have heard it as Ozempic.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in that entire class, okay,
Right.
there's like Zepbound and
Yeah.
Mounjaro, whatever.
Right.
So then,
They're super popular.
they're very popular because as they are decreasing your blood sugars, so what they do is they
They make you
they're
super
called
attractive.
they're what they called insulin sensitizers. They're called insulin sensitizers, which means, remember I told you that when the tissues are not responding, that's called insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So they act on that, and they kind of make the tissues respond some
Okay.
more. Okay, so
Okay.
then that lowers your blood sugar. They also have some type of inflammatory effect that we're still digging into.
Okay.
And that anti-inflammatory effect is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but they also are great at producing weight loss.
Yes.
And so this is why now half the world is taking it, whether they get it prescribed or not.
Right.
And so for better and worse, because nobody is necessarily monitoring side effects or anything.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, just a very broad question that obviously someone would have to go to their doctor about to find out for their situation.
Yeah.
But how does, can you just, the wrong word is cure, but can you control the diabetes in your life just through diet?
It depends on where you are in this spectrum, because you can imagine it's not like a switch on or off. It's not like you have it or you don't, right? Like
Right.
there's like a whole spectrum of like how far into it you are. You can
Right.
have pre-diabetes, like and then pre-diabetes a whole range. Also, you can have diabetes, and it can be very severe. You can have a lot of what we call end organ damage, which is like, your brain, your retina, your eyes, your kidneys, your
wow.
heart are getting
Yeah.
involved, like your feet also.
Yeah.
Getting,
Yeah.
So depending on where you are on that spectrum, things are reversible.
Okay.
Diet will always be better. Okay. Okay.
Right.
If you don't diet, you cannot control your blood sugars, period. Okay.
Right.
Like you have to change the way you live.
Yeah.
Somehow. But some people are able to reverse it. But diabetes is also a progressive disease, and so especially type 2 diabetes, and so it's not like a promise like you change your diet, get no diabetes. But we know a lot of people that with diet alone without needing medication can control their diabetes depending on where they are.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned at the beginning of the program, you've been a huge help to our family, and one of the pieces of advice that I understood you gave was stop drinking bottled water out of plastic bottles and use a water filter at home. Can you speak into that? Because I was surprised because I thought we were talking about sugar.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, how much can I tell about this particular case? But
yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, good. So, because we're not only talking about sugar. When I said that, we were not only talking about sugars, we were talking about overall toxicity in the body, which is a huge thing. And so I think I have to explain a little bit of like where I'm coming from with this. And so so I mean, I have an autoimmune disease that affects my eyes.
Okay.
And I came down with that it was like 2010 or so. And it was very recurrent. And about 6 years ago, for both, because of my autoimmune disease was not getting any better, or, I couldn't get off of eye drops or any steroids and stuff like that. And because my son was also suffering with like severe eczema and things like that, I started digging around into more what we call holistic medicine. Mm-hmm. And so I stumbled onto anti-inflammatory diets and reducing toxicity in your life, and how much is that going to affect us? So I'm like, well, it's not going to hurt us.
Right.
So let's just try it. Before starting all these medicines with that 5,000 side effects and all this thing.
Right.
I don't want to put my 3-year-old in like immune modulators. And
sure.
So I'm like, well, let's just give it a shot. And I did it, and he cleared out completely, and I haven't had a flare up since. And so I've been like, well, then there's a lot to look into here. And so since then, I've been really like studying into this, right? And so not to as much like quit my practice. I am an endocrinologist. This is what I do, and it was what I love to do.
Right.
But more to expand my practice in the sense of like there are other things out there that is not just a medicine that I can give you, that I can give you as an option, that I can teach you, that can help your health.
I love that.
And so why not? Why not? Let's do that. And so that's why I changed my practice. So for the past 2 years, I've been on my own with my partner, Sarah Spreitzer. And so we both practice. I have what I call a holistic wing. And so we call it integrative endocrinology, because I'm trying to integrate holistic methods with standard medicine.
Yeah.
But so all that to say, what I'm trying to achieve is like when people have autoimmune diseases and things that are definitely inflammatory in nature, I always try to approach them with an anti-inflammatory diet, and that's like our base, right? We also will do whatever medicines we need or whatever labs we'll do a lot of things, but this is kind of our basement where we do an anti-inflammatory diet, and we do we're going to talk about decreasing toxicity in life.
Right.
So it's very known for many years now that there are these chemicals in our environment that are called endocrine disruptors, endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs. And a lot of them are plastic derivatives. And so the Endocrine Society has been trying to fight to get our Congress to pass plastic regulations, and that has not happened. And October 2022.
Is that going to happen starting next week?
Dang, I really expect. I would love that. I would love to see that, but I know that as of October 2022, I mean, in magazines in Endocrine, we're like, they're about to pass plastic regulations, and that never happened. Right. I don't know why. But I do hope that changes. It has to change. It's affecting us all. And it really these are chemicals that we don't know how to get rid of. And we keep making them.
Yeah.
And they're affecting our health tremendously.
So
and
plastics and there's something out there about grain.
Yeah. So okay. Well, that's part of the whole anti-inflammatory diet. So basically, it's all. So think of all the chemicals that are around you at any given moment.
I don't even want to think about that. That is too much to think about.
We have carpets that have tons of chemicals in them. We have fire retardants. Even in our clothes, we have plastics in the water bottle that you're drinking right now.
Yeah. I see. I do have a plastic bottle of water in front of me right now.
If you notice, I brought my own water.
And out of respect for the endocrinologist, I have not opened it. I'm just dying of thirst over here.
Don't die of thirst. Still, plastic is better than acute kidney failure. You can still do it.
I'll risk it. I'll last till the hour's over. Yeah, go ahead.
So then basically, it's in my kids' pajamas. It's in pesticides in our food. And so if you can imagine the biggest crops that we can have, like the biggest crops in our agricultural industry are the ones that are taking the biggest hit.
Right.
And that's because for industry, they need it, right? They need to make their crops. Their farm margin farming is difficult. I have also a little farm. Farming is hard.
Yes, you do have a farm, a little farm. It's great.
I don't have any big crops, I guarantee you.
Right.
But especially because my sheep eat my salads. But anyway, they ate my garden.
You're on the carnivore diet now because the sheep are eating the salad.
The sheep are eating the garden. But anyway, they have big crops that they need to protect. Okay, and I understand that's when they're coming from, but we also have to have a little more creative problem solving in this, because you can't just spray poison in what we're eating, right? And so you can imagine wheat and corn are two of the major crops out there, and so it's a long story. I don't know if we have time for all of that, but basically. The genetic modifications that we're doing in our wheat, especially, is making that gluten. We have more gluten in our wheat now, and that hurts our stomachs. It hurts our lining. It also, but also if you're pesticiding it too, then you're what are you telling your system? You're like you're getting poison. You're literally eating poison with your food, even though if it's in small amounts. But it's a small amount in your tomato, and in a small amount in your corn, and it's a small amount in absolutely everything you eat, and in the water you're drinking. And so, which is why we need to filter our water. Filter your water, people.
Yes.
Good filter.
I installed one in my house under your advice, and I actually enjoy it. It's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. So now bring it home. Bring it to work.
Yes.
Now you can bring it to work.
Exactly. Well, this is all super interesting. I feel like we could talk the whole hour on this, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about Venezuela.
All right.
Do not touch that dial. 915 Talk is listener supported. If you believe that local Christian talk radio is important to our community, please take a moment to prayerfully consider taking part. For all donation options, including secure online giving, visit kelpradio.com and click on the Cornerstone Broadcasting link. Let's reach our neighbors in the borderland together.
915.
Testify.
I used to be a hardcore Catholic. I actually wasn't giving all praise and honor to God or Jesus Christ. I was worshiping the Virgin Mary, and little by little I started seeing things that were just not right. And it was by listening to your radio station. I would like to tell you how I came upon this station. I used to work for a concrete company, and we were working on 24-hour shifts, and my truck was assigned to somebody at night. So when I came in the morning, they changed all my stations. And so I had my stations already programmed. So I was changing it, and I came upon KLP. And so I left it there because they called me into dispatch to go get my ticket. And when I came back, I just kept listening to it. And if I had never heard this radio station, who knows, I probably would have still been lost, still living in this darkness.
Overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
and by the word of their testimony.
KELPradio.com.
And we're back with Dr. Mariana Yates. We've been talking about diabetes. It's interesting. When our family lived overseas, we had doctors we could go to, and they would spend an hour or more with us. So when we came to the States, it was quite a shock to have the express service. And I understand why that happens. But then when we went to Dr. Mariana Yates, when we visited you, it was just like, wow, there is the medical care in America where there's the attention to detail, the individualized attention. And you were saying during the break, imagine explaining this to every patient.
Exactly.
and it takes a minute. It takes a minute. And I'm sure it's tailor-made for many of them. Yeah. So that's really amazing what you're doing. And I think we need more of that in America. There's not enough of that individualized attention. And again, hats off to the doctors who are out there in the trenches doing the work. But before we went to break, I said we're going to talk a little bit about Venezuela. Your father was a congressman in Venezuela, and then your family had to flee before that became mainstream.
Right.
You were 17 at the time?
No, I was 22.
You were
21,
20.
22.
Okay, so a little bit older than I thought. Okay, and from what I understand, you had to flee overnight, or very quickly, whatever it was. And you have 4 kids.
Yeah.
2 of them are watching us through the window right now, I think, enjoying the conversation. But your kids have never been to Venezuela.
No, it is very sad. In fact, so yes, we had to. My parents, my dad especially, had to flee right away. I actually stayed another 2 months because I didn't have a visa or anything, and I graduated medical school. Got a passport, got a visa, and then came.
Okay.
I had to, I moved into my best friend's family. They just took me and gave me, this is where you're sleeping, because it was
here in America.
No, in Venezuela.
Oh, in Venezuela.
While
those
my
2
parents
months.
were gone,
Okay.
because it was unsafe. It was unsafe.
Right.
So it was, it was quite the time.
Right.
We came. So then, January 12th, I just did 20 years in the United States.
Wow.
So it's been.
So what is one thing you would like your kids to know about Venezuela?
So many things. I tell them constantly. I cook all the Venezuelan food I can possibly do, make, or buy. I also I show them pictures of how beautiful Venezuela is. There's so many beautiful beaches, beautiful mountains, beautiful jungles. It's so beautiful. There's so many good resources there. And then all my extended family is still there. We have cousins and aunts and uncles, and they're still there, and I love them very much, and I haven't seen them in 20 years.
Wow.
And so I would love for them to go back.
Right.
And so I actually last week on Monday started fasting for Venezuela, and I have 17 Venezuelans that are doing this with me.
Wow.
So if you're Venezuelan and you're listening, please fast on Mondays until dinner and pray for Venezuela.
Oh, love it. Love
so
it.
we're
So
gonna do
what's
that.
your prayer for Venezuela?
Freedom.
Okay.
So it's not, of course we want political freedom. I do feel like there's a spiritual freedom that needs to happen too. So it's just for deliverance, so that our country's free again. We can't go there. It's a disaster.
So do you keep up with the situation there? You follow the news?
Loosely. My dad, he lives with me. He's very sick now, but he lives with me. He keeps up with it.
Yeah.
All the time he tells me about it.
He gives you the
headlights.
headlights.
He gives me the head. So it is funny, and my husband can tell you this too. I don't like listening to the news. Because I feel like I have some PTSD from being in Venezuela, panicking in front of the news.
Yeah, I understand.
And I don't. I don't. I'm like, if there's anything worth knowing, please let me know.
Yeah.
And I have, people in my life, thankfully, that they let me know everything that's happening. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Venezuela has been in the news here, not for the best of reasons. And, so many Venezuelans coming and, you hear all of these things. But I think it's a great challenge, whether you're Venezuelan or American, to pray for the situation there rather than just praying that, I don't know, God would protect us here.
Yeah.
Because, I don't think that there's this sudden surge of Venezuelans come to America because life is good in Venezuela. So
Right.
so
Exactly.
so what are we doing to pray for Venezuela? You know, and I think that's true for every nation where there's this surge of immigrants coming to America. What if God blessed them there in that place?
Right. Then we will all be fine. Nobody
Right,
has
yeah.
to like flee,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so as an immigrant also, the calling in the Bible, and I can't remember the verse right now off the top of my head, but the calling in the Bible is for immigrants to also bless the place where you are.
Right.
So, I mean, we're called to pray for both. Now I have to pray
Right.
for Venezuela, and I have
Yeah.
to pray for here where I
Yes.
am, because
Yes.
this is my new city that, like, you know, open its arms to us. And
Right.
so it's our, you know, we're not to be cursing or saying like, oh, this sucks, which
Right.
sometimes as immigrants we kind of do, and I don't
Right.
love that. But
Yeah.
we're all supposed to be a blessing to the place and pray for the place where we are.
Yes.
And as we still pray for the place where we
Yeah.
came from. So
Yeah. When you come to the city you've been exiled to, seek its welfare and pray to the Lord on its behalf, because the welfare of that city is your welfare. It's
Exactly.
Jeremiah 29.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you know, you're a missionary. You know this. You know these things.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
But that's so great. So tell us about the one Venezuelan food that every American needs to try.
arepas.
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 Arepas. It's
So
like
so let's ask the kids. You guys like arepas? Yeah. Okay. We're getting some thumbs up and some nods. Okay. So what is arepas?
it's like a little cornmeal patty,
Okay.
basically, and you just cook it and then open it up and fill it up with whatever you want, kind of like a sandwich.
Okay. So what are some of the options of what we're putting inside the arepas?
So, okay. My personal favorite is like a breakfast arepa. So I would put like a fried egg in it and like, you know.
Right.
Well, my husband loves to put tomatoes in it. I don't. I love avocado in it.
Is tomato like blasphemy, or is it okay?
I don't think it's a blasphemy. It's just you don't see it very often.
Okay, all right.
You can see a lot of like. There's one that's called reina pepiada, which is like a shredded chicken with mayonnaise. I believe that has it, and then avocado in it. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
But you know, anything like you can put cheese in it. You can put and the other favorite is when we do like lunch or dinner. It's like grilled chicken,
Grilled chicken. I
grilled
like it.
vegetables.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, what can you put in a sandwich?
Yeah.
Anything. So it's just like the options are endless, which is the
gotcha.
beauty of
Are
it.
there like any Venezuelan eateries in El Paso that you can recommend?
I don't
Normally we
know.
talk about Chico's Tacos in this segment, but we're not going to go there. So
We just talked about diabetes. So we have, I believe there's one in Mesa called Beyond Mesabe. And I believe there was one on like Cashew Laneway on the east side, but I don't know if it's open anymore.
Yeah, so you're not hitting up those places very often when you qualify the statement by saying, I believe.
I believe,
Your Venezuelan eatery is your kitchen.
Exactly.
I like it.
There's RV International Foods
Okay.
on Mesa Street. They the owners, I believe, are Indian, and they have a lot of Indian food, but they are bringing a ton of Hispanic foods too. So they bring Venezuelan foods like cheeses and cassave, or like all these like Venezuelan candies that I grew up with, and things like that. So those
That's
are
very
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I go to for Russian Ukrainian food is Jerusalem on Mesa.
Oh, good.
They have some surprises sometimes when we go there, and we have fun with that.
But
But it is fun in El Paso to find these places that have tastes from other part of the world. So so great. So a challenge to everyone: when you hear about Venezuela on the news, when you hear about Venezuelan gangs, when you hear about surges at the border, first of all, hear this out. Dr. Mariana Yates is a beautiful, wonderful person, a gift to our city. Secondly, whenever you see that on the news, pray for the freedom of Venezuela.
Exactly.
Pray for the freedom of Venezuela. Of course, we can pray for protection for our nation. We do that regularly here on KELP. But let's also pray for the prosperity of these nations in Central and South America. there's a lot of work to do with that. And I think El Paso will continue to be in the front of the news with that in these coming months, probably, the way the politics are looking. So
pray for that too.
Yeah, so we have a lot to pray about because our nation's leaders need wisdom, and we need wisdom here in El Paso as well on how to deal with all that. Venezuela, now you're in El Paso. Have you lived elsewhere in America or mainly El Paso?
No, I've been in El Paso only the last 8 years.
Okay.
I lived about four months-ish in Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay.
Then I went to Southern California for 3 years. I was in Costa Mesa area most of the time. Then I went and I did my residency in Rochester, New York for 3 years. And then I went to Dallas, Texas, and did my endocrinology fellowship at UT Southwestern. And then that's where I got married there. And so my husband did his fellowship in Louisiana. So we went to Shreveport, Louisiana for 2 years. Okay. And then we came here. So
okay.
We've been around.
Very cool. Yeah, and it's great. Normally at the beginning of these kind of programs, I would give the guest's resume. Like studied here, this and that, and I'm like, this is just the doctor our family goes to. That's the most important thing. But you went to all these places and you ended up in El Paso. Yeah. What is one thing? So the beginning of the program, I don't know if you heard it because we were struggling with headphone volume, but the phrase is, the world is looking at El Paso. What will we say to the world? What is one thing that people outside of El Paso do not understand about this city?
Border town.
Yeah.
Border town. We are a 3-way border, I believe.
Right.
And this is so cool. So El Paso, when they say, oh, it's Texas. It's not Texas. It's Mexico. It's not Mexico. It's not New Mexico. It's a blend of all three.
Yes.
And this is a super cool place to be.
Yeah, it is super unique.
Yeah.
And I encourage people who are listening, around the country, if I'm not going to ask you to use your annual vacation to come to El Paso, but if you're driving through El Paso, stop for a day or two. It is totally different than anywhere else.
And historically, it's very relevant. If you know, El Paso means the past, right?
Yes.
Because it's that huge mountain range that comes all the way from the north and then it resumes later in the south. We were the pass between the mountains. So a friend of mine was recently telling me about how they think the first Thanksgiving was actually here with the pan de oñate or whatever, because it's been historically, there's been so much going on here for so long. And it's because it was the only pass through the mountains. So there's El Paso is very cool historically as well.
Love it. Well, I think it's time for another break. But before we go to our break, I do want to be careful to thank KELP's impact partners, and especially today, I want to thank High Desert Oral and Facial Surgery. Kenny on the board. Do you know about High Desert Oral and Facial Surgery?
Yes, I do.
You do. What's your relationship to High Desert Oral and Facial Surgery?
Back in 2022. I was in the hospital for 16 days, 8 in intensive care, 8 in a regular room, and it was one of the doctors from there that removed 2 of my teeth. I had a infection in one tooth that actually spread down and across my entire neck, and it was pretty bad. And a lot of listeners know this because they prayed for me, which I believe is the only reason why I'm alive. That and a skilled surgeon. Yeah. They went in on a Saturday morning and they yanked him the next day. Wow. Really professional, great job.
Wonderful. Yeah, so High Desert Oral and Facial Surgery has the recommendation of Kenny on the board. That is the highest recommendation that KELP radio gives anyone, but they do wisdom teeth removal, dental extractions, dental implants, jaw correction, facial trauma, cleft lip and palate, and we're so grateful to them for being a KELP impact partner. You can find out more information at hdofs.com. And Dr. Yates, do you know anything about High Desert Oral and Facial Surgery?
I might know somebody there.
Yeah. So your husband is a part of that going on there, but it's really good people. Really appreciate what they're doing. And the other impact partner I just want to highlight right now is Caring Companions. If you have elderly relatives who would need to be taken care of but don't want to leave home, check out Caring Companions. They're here in El Paso, also really good people, and we're grateful to them. What's that?
I use them. They help
You
with
use
my
them?
dad. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I did not know this. This is
They're
not
great.
planned.
They're great.
Okay, so Dr. Yates also would like to thank our impact partner, Caring Companions. So that's so super cool, and we really love here on KELP just highlighting these local businesses and nonprofits. Be sure if you have questions for Dr. Yates, we're going to be talking about testosterone after the break. But if you have questions or comments, visit our Facebook page, KELP Radio, or YouTube page, KELP Radio, and just comment, and we'll get to those. So without further ado, we're going to...
Actually, we have Charlie One on with
we
the
have Charlie
traffic
One
report for today, January 17th.
We're going to do that right now. Charlie One, how you doing today? Charlie One, you hear me?
I am here. I can hear you fine.
All right, wonderful. What are you seeing out on the roads today, Charlie One?
Well, a lot of trouble spots going on right now, Andy. It's stacked up. We got a big trouble spot on the freeway. I-10 East at Hunter, we have a crash. The right two lanes are blocked here. We have to back up all the way back to Trowbridge. So from Trowbridge to Hunter, that's a good maybe 4 miles. You got nothing but traffic crawling at a crawl right now. So that's really stacked up. Trowbridge all the way to Hunter on those eastbound lanes with those right two lanes blocked off. So a lot of congestion going on right there. Then we go to the west side, Restaurant Helen of Troy. We have a crash busy area. That just happened. PD not even there yet. Mesa and Alto Mesa, that has several cars involved with that crash. PD trying to sort that one out. Mesa and Alto Mesa, far east side. We have Joe Battle and Pelicano on the crash. That's a very busy intersection right now, Joe Battle in Pelicano. We have some congestion going on I-10 East at Lee Trevino. We had a lane closure. They opened it up but left congestion there I-10 East at Lee Trevino. So, Andy, PD quite busy this afternoon.
Yes, it's a busy traffic Friday afternoon here on the borderland, and we do thank you, Charlie One. We also thank AlamoGlassPros.com. You need to get that tinting on your windshield so you're not squinting when you're driving down 110, and you can just what do you call it, Charlie One, when you stop to look at the wreck? A looky-you, or what do you call it?
Well, the old term is looky-loos. I like to call it spectator delays.
Okay.
Because, these are spectators just looking at it, spectator delay. That's what I like to call it.
Well, Charlie One, I want to hereby request that at KELP, you never call them spectator delays, but always call them looky-loos. I just heard about that the other day. That's amazing. A great term. I really like that.
Yeah, it's more... They use that a lot of study kind of the big markets, and they don't say looky-loos. They say spectator delays. So I kind of carry that over to El Paso,
Okay. Yeah, don't do the looky-loos. Keep on driving so you're not backing up the traffic behind you. And Charlie One, tell me about the Daily Menudo.
Well, that menudo, delicious menudo, it's really, it's every day at Mi Pueblito Cafe, 3123 Wood. Of course, they have Mexican plates, seafood, vegetarian options, but delicious menudo every day. Mi Pueblito Cafe, 3123 Wood. And Andy, that sun glare is going to get you at about 5:30. So you need that special tinting that they do there, Andy.
At AlamoGlassPros.com. And Charlie One, you and I'm going to invite you for Daily Menudo one of these days. And we're going to invite the whole radio audience. We're going to have just a great Daily Menudo with everyone. Appreciate the report, Charlie One. You have a great weekend. We'll talk later.
You have a safe one.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. And so we'll go to break right now. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Dr. Yates. We'll be talking about where did all the testosterone go?
Hey, KLP listeners, this is Pastor Terry Gray of Calvary Chapel Sun City on El Paso's west side. I want to invite you to join me at a new time at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday right here on KELP. If you're driving home at 5 p.m. or doing work around the house or getting your evening started, I invite you to join me as we go through the Bible, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. There is nothing more valuable than the Word of God, so let's invest our time in learning more about it together each day. That's our Bible study program, Summons, each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on KELP.
It's 2025. What is your prayer for our borderland community in the new year? Pastor Terry Gray of Sun City Calvary Chapel on El Paso's west side.
One of my favorite words in the whole Bible is the word new. And there's two Greek words for that word. There's the Greek word neos, which means your most recent whatever. And then there's kainos, which means a higher quality, a higher state, something new. So that word kainos shows up in three very important verses. It shows up in 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. When you come to Christ, you become brand new. And then in 2 Corinthians, it says, therefore we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. Jesus wants to make your life brand new every day. And then in the second to last chapter of the Bible, Jesus says, behold, I make all things new. That's a whole new quality of eternal life that we can't even imagine. My prayer for you is that this will be a new you in this new year as you cooperate with all that Jesus wants to do in you.
And we're back with Dr. Mariana Yates. During the break, you heard Pastor Terry Gray, great friend of KELP, and he'll be on at 5 o'clock with his program Summons, expository teaching from God's Word, and he's from Sun City Calvary Chapel here on El Paso's west side. Great church, great teaching. Always stay tuned after 915 Talk. So we're back with Dr. Mariana Yates. This has been so much fun. Time is flying by.
Yeah.
And so the question I have for you is, what happened to all the testosterone?
And testosterone in people, or
Yes.
all the testosterone out there?
Well,
All the
well,
testosterone in people
well,
seems to have been gone,
so-
and
so
then
if you-
it's all in vials being sold to you back.
So if you Google testosterone levels historically, it's way lower now than it was in the past.
Yeah. So, and well, there are several reasons for this. So if there's one thing I want to say.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's hear it.
I'm very opinionated about a lot of these things. But
You know
okay,
what, Dr. Mariana Yates? I do not want you to hold back right now. Tell us what you really think.
So what I really think. So basically, there is a lot being told out there. You need more testosterone. You need it as high as you can possibly. There's a
Right.
lot of. It has become, sadly, kind of a market. It's just people are just throwing it at you, and so
Right.
that shouldn't be. That's
Okay.
There's side effects to testosterone.
So what happens if you start taking testosterone? I don't know if it's a
So-
supplement or a shot, or
I
I don't know
well,
what happens. A pill.
Yeah, so this is where I was going. Like, you have to basically, if you discover that
Yes.
your testosterone is low,
Okay.
as a man,
Yes, a man.
if you discover your
Allow me
testosterone
to
is
clarify.
low, the first question to ask is why.
Okay.
Okay, and if the provider that you are seeing is not asking why and just throwing at you testosterone,
Yes.
that is not okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the first thing. It sounds very intuitive,
Right.
but it really isn't. Then that's when you get into trouble, because you're not really asking why. For example, a very common cause
So,
of
so
low
you're fixing the
testosterone-
symptom, but not the root
Yes.
cause. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and so if you have a pituitary tumor in your head that is causing you to
yeah.
have a low testosterone,
And you're just
you never discovered it, because now you have testosterone, and now then until you like lose your eyesight or something crazy, and
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, I should have paid attention to this. So
Right.
if you the first question is always why,
Mm-hmm.
and so one of the most common causes of low testosterone in men is obesity.
okay.
Another very common cause is obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay.
Those two often go together, so that's a double whammy.
So why would sleep apnea affect your testosterone?
Right, because you do have this. So there is a pituitary. I keep saying pituitary. Pituitary is this little teeny gland
Okay.
in your brain. It's under your brain. It's kind of in the middle of your head.
Okay.
I wish I could.
I
point
think
it
our
at you.
radio listeners are picturing it. It's
Right?
inside their head.
It's inside their head.
A
like
little
kind of
gland inside
beside-
their head.
behind your eyes.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so it's hard if you it's hard to do it just by saying it, not
Right.
pointing at it. But right behind your eyes, kind of in the middle of your head, there is an actual connection between your brain and your hormone system, your endocrine system, and it's it's called a pituitary gland. It's very teeny, but it is very powerful.
Okay.
And it regulates basically all the other major glands,
Okay.
including the testicles.
Okay.
And so, if that's off, everything is off.
Okay.
And especially, testosterone is so. The body is smart. It's very, very nicely designed by our Lord. It was
Yes.
very smartly designed. And so when things go bad, the first things that go down are reproductive things.
Okay.
That's going to go down before your adrenals, because if you lose your adrenals, you die, right?
Okay.
Like that goes down. So there's a strategy here. Things go down first. You don't need reproduction as much as you need to have a blood pressure so you can live.
Right.
So things go down in that
Okay.
in that way. So the reproductive system seems to be a little bit more sensitive in that regard,
Right.
just because it goes first.
Okay.
But basically, so if you have sleep apnea, where you are affecting that connection, you start the testosterone starts losing. It starts
Okay.
decreasing, so obesity does the same thing. And so those are, if not the two most common ones.
Okay.
But there are other common ones like pituitary tumors.
I was
There's
surprised. I was
empty cell
surprised by
syndrome.
that.
There's a lot of other
I
things.
thought you were going to say that it was diet, or I don't know. I don't know.
So if you. So for testosterone, the testicles are the ones that produce testosterone,
Mm-hmm.
and so any damage to those also will affect testosterone. But the pituitary in your head also controls everything. So that also, if that gets messed up, then also that can affect testosterone, which is why the first question is why.
Okay. So how if someone has low testosterone, then how do they find out why?
That's why you go to a doctor, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So here, don't go to a hormone dealer. That will just slap a hormone on you. That's my takeout, because I do see a lot of this, sadly. And this is not just El Paso. This is very common now.
Yeah. No, I know.
This
yeah.
is very common everywhere.
Yeah, I think all of my TV ads are for diabetes medicine, and all my Facebook ads are for testosterone supplements, or I don't know what it is.
Exactly. And so then that's the thing. Like, you need to get checked. Get checked first. Let's get to the roots of the problem. Is it coming from testicles? Is it coming from the pituitary? What else is going on? What else do we need to change? Because if you do need to just diet and exercise and lose the weight and breathe better, or you need a sleep study and correct your sleep apnea, and that's going to help you,
right?
Then that's what needs to happen.
Right.
That you can make your own testosterone naturally,
right,
the proper way.
Okay.
Instead of you just getting a shot or a pellet or something. So.
Yeah, and having too much testosterone can also be dangerous somehow.
Yeah, so there are contraindications. So for people that have, prostate cancer is like number one contraindication. Like if you have prostate cancer, testosterone is fuel to the fire of prostate cancer.
Yeah.
So that's a no. But the most common one, I would say, is probably polycythemia. That means that when you get testosterone, the red blood cells increase.
Okay.
And so if it goes over a threshold, then that's getting you at risk of like strokes and things like that. So if it goes high to a certain point, then we have to stop it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so my concern is for the people that they went to some random place, they gave them a pellet of testosterone that lasts 6 months, for example, and then they are getting into these crazy doses. And because I'm saying it because I've seen it. And then in a crazy dose, and now if there are side effects, how do we get rid of this? What are we going to do?
Okay, I have two questions, and I'm going to be the classic patient. I read something on the internet. Doctor, what do you think? So one was testosterone is affected by carrying the phone in the pocket.
Yes, it's possible. So this is where I get a little holistic too. So bear with me. So basically, you can agree that we also have electromagnetic energy in our body, right? Like if you touch a circuit.
If you tell me, I agree. I have no idea,
If you touch
doctor.
a little circuit, have you ever had those little chickens or bowls or whatever that if you touch the two sides of the electrode, that's when they turn on?
Okay.
It's because you are making that connection. You're
Right,
working
okay,
as a
okay,
wire.
okay.
So there is
we have electricity in our body.
You
I
have electricity
agree.
in your
Yes.
body.
I
And
love how you explained that to
electromagnetic
me.
energy affects us. Okay.
Yes.
To what degree, we actually don't know. We don't know to what degree.
Okay.
But there's a lot of concern for these things happening. And so as far as sperm counts, for example, for people that are looking for, why is my sperm count so low that we can't get pregnant and things like that, as far as sperm counts, it's not like that they ask you to get your cell phone out of your front pocket.
That's super interesting.
Stop drinking alcohol, for example, things that are so that yes, your lifestyle does, like what you're in contact with affects you, and testicles are out there. They're kind of exposed. It's probably the most exposed gland, and they're sensitive.
Yeah,
and so
I think in the past 10 minutes. The word testicles has been used more on KELP than the last 40 years combined, but it is part of our body, and you know what? Like we are to love the Lord our God with all of our strength,
right?
And being careful about our bodies. I think it does matter to the Lord, and He created us, right?
Yeah.
And so my other question about testosterone, I did my research, meaning somehow I saw it on the internet. But having too much testosterone can accelerate aging?
That's not necessary. We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. There's a lot of things that we don't know.
Right.
Even there's a true concern for like having too much testosterone being bad for your cardiovascular system. Like you can have heart attacks and stuff. And there are big studies that say one way and big studies that say the other way. We don't really know.
Okay.
And so, and there's a lot of concerns, and I agree. And nowadays, I think after the testosterone, everybody's getting it like candy, vending machines. And so I think we are going to be seeing a ton more of side effects that we didn't know about because now we don't, we have all these people on it.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Yates, I feel like we could continue talking for hours and hours. This is so interesting. We have 1 minute left.
Ooh.
And in this minute, I want you to tell me, what is your dream for medicine in America?
That we are going to get out from under the bondage of business.
Love it.
It's going to be back to real medicine as an art and as a healing of people.
Yeah,
And,
love it. And I don't know if you want anyone to find you because your office is so busy, but if someone wanted to find you, what's your...
Go, my website, it's marianayatesmd.com.
MarianaYatesMD.com, and Mac Daddy Del Norte will make sure that's on KELPradio.com. Be sure to go to the 915 Talk link tomorrow. This conversation will be posted, available on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. But we'll have that link there so people can find you.
Okay.
Really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Would love to have you in again because I have so many more questions, but our time for today is up. So as we always say at the end, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory.
Amen.
This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk on KELP Christian Radio. To listen to past recordings of 915 Talk, just visit KELPradio.com and click on the 915 Talk link. Until next time, love your neighbor, love your city, and give God all the glory.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erkson Todd.